let's talk about Elon Musk's final SpaceX launch of 2017. Unbelievable. Yeah, a lot of speculation about, was that a UFO everybody saw or what? Well, I'm going to read to you this very brief little segment here. It says Elon Musk's final SpaceX launch of 2017 puts on an amazing holiday light show. I personally got so many things and pictures and videos from various people telling me, OMG, I just videotaped this UFO and they didn't know what to think of it, what was going on, and blah, blah, blah. So just a lot of things. I'm going to read this off very briefly here. The SpaceX launch was December 22nd. And to read in brief what this article says, it says people used to pay attention when Elon Musk sent one of his rockets into space. Now it's totally routine. Up until Friday night, his SpaceX had flown 17 missions in 2017, and chances are you weren't aware of any of them. SpaceX's 18th launch of the year was different. Last night, some combination of the Falcon 9 rocket's flight path and the Southern California sky created a fantastic light show that people captured on their phones and cameras, and then they shared them on social media. This other article states Elon Musk says the first tech launch of SpaceX's massive new rocket will happen next month. So this is an older article. Its destination Mars? Its cargo? A Tesla Roadster with David Bowie on the stereo. Did you guys hear this? Did you hear that this is what was sent in this rocket? I just, what a waste of a Roadster. Okay, I'm going to read this article. The rocket, known as the Falcon Heavy, will lift off from Kennedy Space Center near Cape Canaveral, Florida, using the same launch pad as Apollo 11, Musk tweeted late Friday in the U.S. As we know, that did not happen. It happened in California. We'll have double thrust of next largest rocket, he said, guaranteed to be exciting one way or another. SpaceX has revolutionized the rocket industry, but it has also suffered spectacular setbacks over the years, including rockets blowing up on the launch pad and in flight. Related, Elon Musk is aiming to land spaceships on Mars in 2022. Musk, the CEO of both SpaceX and electric car company Tesla, said the Falcon Heavy would be launched with the aim of putting its payload in orbit around Mars. The rocket's rather unorthodox cargo will be Musk's own Midnight Cherry Tesla Roadster playing Space Oddity, he said, referring to Bowie's classic song. It will, Musk predicted, be in space for 1 billion years or so if it doesn't blow up on ascent. As with pretty much all timetables announced by Musk, the launch date could be changed. SpaceX and Tesla have a long track record of missing the CEO's ambitious deadlines. SpaceX originally hoped to carry out the first Falcon Heavy test launch years ago, and Musk said earlier this year he was targeting November. Related, SpaceX's playbook, Make History, Then Make More History, Musk's announcement of the planned launch of the giant rocket comes just over 2 months after he outlined his vision of eventually putting humans on Mars and colonizing the planet. You're too late, Elon. It's already been done. Uh, Space program is for real. That project will require an even larger rocket, though. It's called the BFR, or the Big Falcon rocket, which inside the company is nicknamed the Big Effing Rocket. SpaceX plans to start building the first of those by the middle of next year, Musk said in late September. Well, you could do anything with the right money, can't you? I'll be in charge. Hey, make it purple. That's what I would do. He wants to land at least 2 of the spacecraft on Mars in 2022, carrying equipment, and the ones transporting people in 2024. Well, he's already got his car there, so he'll be good. In the meantime, the Falcon Heavy is intended to boost the amount of cargo SpaceX can take into space for its customers. The company says it will be able to take into orbit more than twice the payload, 119,000 pounds, of its closest rival at a third of the cost. SpaceX has shaken up the aerospace industry by dramatically slashing costs and developing rockets that can blast out of the atmosphere and then come back down to land on a barge floating in the middle of the ocean. Market sectors. See latest news and which stock market segments are performing best. Traditionally, rockets have been used just once and are left to burn up in the atmosphere after mission, but SpaceX has been working for years to change that. It has said that reused rockets will be a part of the maiden launch of the Falcon Heavy, which is essentially 3 Falcon 9 rockets, the company's current workhorse, strapped together. So that little weird little tandem thing that was going up into that rocket that everybody was filming was probably his roadster. I don't know. Unbelievable. Yeah. And he said that he was announcing for weeks that this was going to happen, that he was going to launch this thing. But oddly, in the first, how can I say, reports, the first people calling and questioning what was that, I heard SpaceX was hesitant to say it was them. And I know that a lot of people in the UFO community were really like, I don't know, that didn't look typical. And it didn't look typical because it wasn't the typical rocket. And it literally is a rocket. Come on now, they know they've got the re-engineered lovely UFOs. But anyways, blasting off with some UFO reports. How about we do that? UFO sighting in Vacaville, California. This occurred December 22nd, 2017. In brief, the witness states black cylindrical shaped object hovered over hilltop. In more detail, they state December 22nd, 2017, 8:16 a.m. My coworker, the driver, and I were traveling westbound on I-80 towards San Francisco on our way to work. While passing the area of Vacaville, I noticed an object hovering over a hilltop in the distance. The size of the object would be about the size of an aspirin if held at arm's length. It was cylindrical shaped, oriented vertically. It appeared larger at the top. The object was dark gray black. It was very pronounced against a clear sky background. I saw the object intermittently as my line of sight was disrupted by traffic in the lane next to mine and an overpass that we drove under. For me, the event lasted somewhere between 1 to 3 minutes. I say it that way because I didn't see the object, quote, arrive, and I didn't see it leave. So I can't say for sure how long it was there. During the periods that I had a direct line of sight to the object, I could tell that while stationary, it was either rotating around its y-axis or changing shape. The larger part on top seemed to alternate between being on the left and right side of the object. The weather conditions during this event were relatively clear with very little cloud coverage. I would describe it as a bright and sunny California winter morning. I'm not sure what made me first notice the object, but as soon as I did, my mind classified it as odd. I drive that route several times a week and am very familiar with the aircraft in that area. Travis Air Force Base is only about 15 miles from where this event took place, so seeing military aircraft as well as commercial aircraft is extremely common. Along with airplanes and helicopters regularly seen in the area, it's also quite common to see hot air balloons. In fact, the first prosaic explanation that came to mind was a hot air balloon. But that's just not what I saw. First of all, it's out of season for hot air balloons in that area. Usually when you see them, they are generally brightly colored. This was almost black, and its shape wasn't correct to be a hot air balloon. The next explanation I came up with was those balloons that you would see above a car dealership or new housing development. This, however, doesn't seem plausible because, for one, that particular hilltop doesn't really have any buildings other than a few homes. For another, the size of the thing from the distance I saw, it means it had to be much larger than an advertising balloon. Seeing this object was exciting for me. Full disclosure, I'm a UFO enthusiast. I generally keep an eye to the sky in hopes of seeing something of high strangeness. Until now, I've never seen anything that couldn't immediately be explained. I tried my best to take photos and video with my phone, but it just wasn't large enough for my phone to capture it. My coworker also saw the object and acknowledged that it was indeed strange. He too said that it didn't look like any hot air balloon he'd ever seen. I eventually lost sight of the object when we got close enough to the hills to block my view. I continued to look in that direction that I thought it may be the rest of the way to San Francisco. The next UFO sighting happened in South Glens Falls, New York, and this is a bit of a blast from the past. This occurred June 15th, 2013. In brief, the witness states came from the stars, about 30 orange orbs forming a large circle 100 feet across, then broke apart to form a boomerang shape and shot northwest. 5 witnesses. In more detail, the witness states, it was almost summer in Glens Falls, New York, a clear, warm evening. I had just moved back here from Portland, Oregon, so I was staying in a house with room rentals. A husband and wife lived in the house. They were outside at a picnic table. They knew the girl I was dating, so we were all drinking a few beers, hanging out. There were a couple other people there. I never believed in aliens or UFOs before this. Anyways, it was just a normal night, but after whatever this was, it has completely changed my perspective on life and has given me a hunger for knowledge. So, my girlfriend at the time, her name was Alicia, standing behind me, she pointed at the sky and said, "Oh my God, what is that?" I turned and looked, and it was a teardrop shape coming into our atmosphere. Then, still very high in the atmosphere, it broke apart into about 30 orange circle-like craft forming a large Ferris wheel-like circle and just stood in the night sky for like 10 seconds. Then the orbs all drifted off from the large circle and performed a perfect V shape at that time and moment. I got scared. It felt like an invasion. It hovered in that position a couple of seconds and then shot northwest. We kept watching it because it was so high in the air you could watch it fly for a while. Then it was gone, and we sat there stunned. And I thought it was like a Russian invasion or something, but there was no sound, and I never seen anything like it again. So I tried researching it. That's when I started learning about UFOs and aliens. So all my books, all my movies, everything is trying to figure out this event. The next UFO report happened in Montesano, Washington. This occurred on December 23rd, 2017. In brief, the witness states, I have watched this thing every year for 4 or 5 years now. This year, it has changed position from north of me to east of me, and now tonight, it is west of me. I can only observe it on clear nights. It makes impossible turns and speeds that no jet can do. In more detail, they state, I walked out on the front porch and noticed this glittering object to the west of me, moving fast in an erratic path. Right away, I recognized it as the object that I have been watching for about 4 years now, but it has changed position. Now it's in the western sky. It flies very erratic patterns at speeds that are unbelievable. Tonight, as I was watching it to the west, 2 more objects appeared from the northeast. They were white orbs that periodically flashed on and off. They were heading right for the first object. This caused it to disappear behind the trees for a few minutes. I hope whoever it is doesn't shoot this thing down. It doesn't seem to hurt anyone. My feelings? Amazement is all. I watch the night skies often and have seen many things. A few summers ago I saw a white orb just dooming along from southwest to northeast when another orb came from the east to meet it. A bright white flash came from the second orb and it destroyed or caused it to disappear. Weird. Are there wars going on in the heavens? Yes, there are. Hey, I named my first book The Secret War. What can I say? All right, the next UFO sighting. This occurred in, ooh, what a name, Gothenburg, Västra Götaland County. This is a little bit of a blast from the past. This happened April 16th, 2015. And this is really a bit distorted. I can tell already. The English is a little broken up. I will do my best. The witness states, should open the patio doors to let some air in when I saw this thing high up in the air. At first I thought it was a star, but it was way too big and the shape was wrong. Said to my wife and son that they have to come out and watch, and that's when we photographed it. It hovered and then moved quite harshly, and then disappeared behind black clouds and tree peaks that obscure the sight of us. Everything felt unreal, and we just stood watching each other afterwards. Next UFO sighting happened in Bradenton, Florida. Yeah, Bradenton. This occurred December 23rd, 2017. In brief, the witness states, hard to explain. In more detail, they say, I was watching one of my favorite UFO videos on YouTube channel. Yeah, I know the irony. LOL. When I got a weird feeling, or should I say urge, to go outside, then I look up to see a lot of lights. So I started to record them for a bit. Then my battery started to die, but I swear it was fully charged before I went outside. So I had to cut the recording short here. The link to my UFO video on YouTube. I also sent the MP4 file of the video, just in case you are not able to watch it on my channel. How convenient. Oftentimes people say they get a strange feeling and have to go look, and guess the UFO occupants knew they were looking up UFOs again and again. All right, the next UFO sighting. UFO sighting in Prince Rupert, British Columbia. This happened December 22nd, 2017. In brief, the witness states clouded light in night sky, zero clouds in atmosphere, faded away, causing giant smoke ring from its clouded surrounding. Okay, in more detail, they state, I'm a truck driver. We drive the same route every night as an outfit. Last night, December 22nd, 2017, was like the past couple nights. Cold, crisp, and very clear skies. Where I live in the northwest of British Columbia is a very open sky with little natural lights on parts of the route we drive, making for the starry skies to be very luminescent. I enjoy looking up when I can and always observe as much as I can, as it's truly a beautiful spectacle. Last night the moon was about under half full, very clear skies. Not a single cloud could be seen all evening. Well, coming back along the route were hears no natural light for a bit. I don't know what that word is. I noticed a clouded orb-like light off to the right of the moon. Now that's just from the direction I was headed at the time. So I noticed this weird oddity. It then, by perspective, shot out a smoke ring. As the ring grew larger, the clouded light got farther away. The smoke wasn't heavy or thick in any way, thin-like. But as I continued down the road and the angle changed to where I lost sight of the lighted, misty cloud-like object, I could see the ring still. After passing by the trees, everything was gone. This was over about a 4-minute time period. Now I'm a rational thinking person. My thoughts were the ring was rested by propulsion. Only thing is, what was the clouded object that caused this? Looking for some science, logic, rational reasoning here for a possible answer. Thanks for listening and reading. The next UFO sighting, this occurred in Tantalon, Nova Scotia. This occurred December 22nd, 2017. Oh, interesting. In brief, the witness states, glowing angel over water. In more detail, they say, I went out of my house to start my car. Coming back, I looked over the water and seen an angel. Went in the house, got my camera to take picture. Lasted about 3 minutes. Did not see it go. It just hovered there. I felt very warm and happy. I went inside and then looked out the window. It was gone. My brother suggested I send you the picture. Ooh, that wasn't a UFO, but great for the season, right? And the next UFO sighting. Black Triangle sighting in Prescott, Arizona. This occurred December 23rd, 2017. Sitting on deck looking at Granite Mountain and saw a triangle shaped with lights red and white hovering, and in a couple of minutes lights went out. In more detail, they state, on my deck talking on the phone, triangle object lit up, hovering, and not moving. Was not sure because the triangle shape. The object had outline of lights in triangle shape, and lights looked white but could see flickering of red. Just did not move. Then all of a sudden the lights went out. Speaking to girlfriend on phone and had to stop speaking to her to keep looking at it, and told her what I just witnessed. Was scared because the shape was not an aircraft. So I posted a Facebook and friends saying it was satellites being launched, but I said there was no trail seen. Looked up on computer and it looks to me like the TRB-3, but it had lights outlining the whole triangle. The lights just went off. Took a photo of it, but it only shows a light in the distance, and that is not what I saw. The next UFO sighting. This happened in Veradero, Matanzas. Pronunciation, I'm not sure. November 23rd, 2017. In brief, they state giant glowing objects started to slowly fade into sight, disappeared for 30 seconds, then reappeared suddenly and grew bigger. In more detail, the witness states Veradero, Cuba. Oh. November 23rd, night to very early hours, November 24th. My friends and I were sitting on their patio on the hotel late one night after their wedding. My friend happened to notice a small red light object in the sky. As we looked, it started to grow bigger, appearing to look like lava starting to flow from a volcano. No volcanoes nearby, however. It grew bigger, slowly, before disappearing suddenly. Then again reappearing suddenly and staying in a half-moon shape for at least 5 minutes. The picture at night that is included was taken off of my phone, iPhone 6. It doesn't capture the true color, which looked a lot more fiery, but the shape is almost accurate. It wasn't perfectly smooth. As mentioned before, it looked like lava had begun pouring down the side of a volcano, but stopped just at the top in the half-moon-like shape. I also added another photo I had taken earlier that day in the exact same spot as a reference. There were no buildings or ships that could have possibly caused that light to be there. It also shows it was quite high up. I'm not sure the exact location, if it was north or south, but the moon that night was the opposite side of the sky to this object, so it would not have been the moon. After about 5 minutes, the object suddenly disappeared again, but did not return this time, and we never saw the object again. It caused us no feelings other than confusion and a bit of fear, as we had and still have no idea what we saw that night. In keeping with the holiday spirits, I am going to read off some very inspiring stories that are fitting for Christmas. This first story comes to us. It is called The Accident Warnings. The question is asked, is our future planned, and is there therefore psychics and prophets can see the future? Or is the future only a set of possibilities, the path to which can be altered by our actions? A reader with the username Heffen writes how she received 2 separate and remarkable warnings about a possible future incident toward which she was heading. They may have saved her life. Heffen's sister called at about 4 one morning. She had a tremble in her voice and was nearly crying. Since she lived across the country, it was so early, Heffen was obviously worried. She told me she had a vision of me being in a car accident. She didn't say whether or not I was killed in it, but the sound of her voice made me think she did believe this, but was afraid to tell me. Heffen writes, she told me to pray, and she said she would pray for me. She told me to be careful, to take another route to work, anything I could do. I told her I believed her and would call our mother and ask her to pray with us. When Heffen left for work, she was terrified, but strengthened in the spirit. She worked at a hospital and had patients to attend to. As she was leaving the room, she was called over by a gentleman in a wheelchair. I went to him expecting that he had a complaint against the hospital. He told me God had given him a message that I would be in a car accident. He said someone not paying attention would hit me. I was so shocked I almost fainted. He said he would pray for me and that God loved me. I felt weak in the knees as I left the hospital. I drove like an old lady as I observed every intersection, stop sign, and stoplight. When I got home, I called my mom and sister and told them I was fine. Interesting. The next inspirational story, The Flight Papers. A saved relationship can be just as important as a saved life. A reader, calling herself Smygen, relates how a little miracle might have rescued her troubled marriage. At the time, she was making every effort to mend her rocky relationship with her husband. She had set up a long romantic weekend in Bermuda when things started to go wrong. It seems her plans were ruined until fate intervened. Smeagan's husband was reluctant to go on the trip and said things were going fine. On arrival in Philadelphia, they were notified that weather was causing planes to back up, so they were stuck in a holding pattern for some time. By the time they landed, their flight to Bermuda was boarding. As many passengers have experienced, it was a mad dash to their gate. They were devastated that the gate door was just closing when they arrived. The attendant told them that they could get to Bermuda, but it would require 2 more connecting flights and an additional 10 hours. She says, my husband said, that's it. I'm not putting up with this anymore, and started to walk out of the area. And I just knew out of the marriage. I was truly devastated, recalls Smeagan. As my husband was walking away, the attendant saw on the counter, and I swear it had not been there when we checked in, a packet. She was obviously upset that it was still there. It turned out to be the landing papers packet that the pilot must have on board to land in a different country. She quickly called the plane to return. The plane had been on the runway, ready to start powering up the engines. It returned to the gate for the papers, and they allowed us and others to get on. Smeagan says that the time with her husband in Bermuda was wonderful. They were able to work out the problems they were having and stay together. Though they had been through tough times, since they always remembered that moment in the airport. She says, I felt as if my world had collapsed and was given a miracle that helped us keep a marriage and a family together. Wow, absolutely amazing stories and UFO reports. Whew, I want to thank you all for listening to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. Be sure to check out UFOHeadlineNews.com every single day, and also tune into my other weekly shows. I co-host on The Kevin Cook Show on Tuesdays and The Outlander Show every Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And catch my paranormal comic strip, The Outlanders. Just go to theoutlanderscomic.com or HeidiHollis.com, and be sure to come to InceptionRadioNetwork.com. Remember always to keep an open mind